Okay, we are starting in our math log today. Today will be 11-7, and your title is going to be multiplying decimals and whole numbers. Multiplying decimals and whole numbers. And I abbreviated that word numbers. This is going to be in the notes section and then whatever page you're on. Okay, so in your bag, you have all of these little rectangles. You are going to first find me this one right here. So this is the one we're going to do first together. So we are finding multiplying decimals and whole numbers. Use the decimal model to find the product. Okay, let me make sure that's clear. Okay. So that's pretty clear there. So here's the thing. We have a grid. There's 100 on there. So that's like one whole or 100 of them, right? So like we've been talking about money, that would be pennies. So if I'm asking you what 3 times 24 is, or 24 hundredths, so 24 cents times 3. Here's what I want you to recognize. That what you're really doing is, let's say you have 24 of them. Well, here's 10, there's 20, and then 4. So I say, you know what, there's 24 of them. And then I want you to take another 24 of them. Well, there is 6 right there. Plus 10 would give me 16. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, right there. And then, well, I have 3 of them, so now I'll take another 24. Well, here's 10 plus 2, that's 12. 13, 14, 15, oh, that would be 22, 23, 24. So I could highlight them off and just count them up, or I can do the math, okay? Count them up, so that'd be what? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 72. So I would have 0.72. That is multiplying decimals. That's the same as taking 0.24 and multiplying it by 3. 3 times 4 is 12, carry the 1. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. 3 times 0 is 0. And then my decimal does not fall down. I count him. Where there's no decimal, I don't see it. It goes right there at the back. So I go 1, 2, and then none here. So 1, 2. It happens to look like he falls down, but he does not. You count him. Okay, let's look at the next one. 4 times 13 hundredths. So I gave you 13 cents, and I'm going to do that 4 times. So I'm going to start with 10, 11, 12, 13. I colored in 13 pennies. Then I'm going to give you another 13. So there's what? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So there's 13 more. I'll give you another 13. Well, there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There's another 13. How many times am I doing it? I'm doing it 4 times. So I need another 13. I'm going to start with this 1 right here. 1 plus the 10 all the way across is going to give me 11, 12, 13. And if you'll fill in as you're going, then you can count by tens as long as you don't skip any. So what would it be? Well, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 51, 52. So I think that it is 52 hundredths, or 52 cents, or 5 dimes and 2 pennies, depending on what you're talking about. So let's check it. Well, 13 cents, so 0.13 or 13 hundredths, times 4. Well, 4 times 3 is 12. Carry the 1. 4 times 1 is 4 plus 1 is 5. 4 times 0 is 0. My decimal does not fall down. I count him. There's no decimal, then it goes at the end. So there's 1, 2, and then none here. So it goes over 2 in my answer. 1, 2. So 0.52 or 52 hundredths. Okay, come down right here. We are going to review. So we're going to glue that in just a moment. But we're going to do a quick review over yesterday's lesson. So if you will write for me question number 1, 3 27 hundredths times 100th. Okay, what fraction would this be? Okay, I'm multiplying by a smaller number, so this would be like 100th, like that. Okay, so if I'm timesing by 100th or dividing by 100th, if I take 3.27 and I multiply it by 0.01, we know that this is in the 100th spot, not 100th. So really, that means that I'm dividing. I'm dividing by 100. So for me to divide by 100, my number is going to get smaller. The way that my number gets smaller is for my decimal to move to the left. How many places? That's 2. So 1, 2. So it's going to equal 0. What can I fill in for that hole? A 0. 3, 2, 7. Okay, that would be the same thing. Again, it's taking that 3 27 hundredths and dividing by 100. Does 100 go into 3? No, because multiplying by the hundredths is the same as dividing by 100. Doesn't go into 3, doesn't go into 32, but it goes into 327. How many times? 3. 3 times 100 is 300. I subtract, I'm left with 27. Put a 0 and bring it down. 100 goes into 270. Well, it'll go into it 2 times. 2 times 100 is 200. Subtract, I'm left with 70. Bring down another 0. 100 goes into 700. 7. 7 times 100 is 700. Now I'm done because I'm at my new wall. Okay. My decimal, I've got to count it back. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 0.0327. It's the same thing as just picking up your decimal and moving it. If it gets smaller, the decimal moves to the left. If you're dividing or multiplying by a decimal, the hundredth. Or if it gets bigger, it goes to the right. So let's try this one. Number 2, try 17.2 and multiply that by 10 for me. Okay, is that going to get bigger or smaller? Well, 10, if I didn't have a decimal, it goes at the end. So that's on the left of the numbers are on the left. So this is a bigger number, right? 10, like $10. So my decimal needs to go this way because the number is going to get bigger. I'm multiplying. Okay, so I could come over here and do 17.2 times 10. Okay, or I know that it's getting bigger and there's 1 0. So pick up my decimal and move him 1 time. And he's going to equal 172. My decimal would be at the end. And then I can prove it. 0 times 2 is 0. 0 times 7 is 0. 0 times 1 is 0. Move over. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 7 is 7. 1 times 1 is 1. 0, 2, 7, 1. My decimal is 1 over. He goes 1 over in my answer. He does not fall down. You count him. Okay, very good. So making sure that you glued in your decimal models, just a few dots of glue him in. Make sure you can still see your work over there. And then you're going to go to a new page. We are working. And the next one that you need out of your math log is this one right here that says multiplication with decimals and whole numbers. Okay, so we can talk about the steps that you're going to take. So multiplication with decimals and whole numbers. step 1 is going to be multiply the tenths. Oh, excuse me. Step 1, I'm just kidding. Step 1 is going to be to estimate. Okay? Estimate. So I'm going to give you a question over here. Let's say we have 27 and 2/10, and we're multiplying that by 1.2. And it just so happens that our decimals lined up, but they won't always line up in multiplication, okay? So don't count on that. You're going to count. So step 1 is to estimate. If I gave you, ignore that 2 for a second. If I do 27 times 1, ignore those. Think of whole numbers. The answer is going to be 27, isn't it? So our answer is going to be somewhere, okay, close to 27. Now think of this. If I ask you, well, 1.5 is 1.5, isn't it? So if I said, I'm going to give you $27, and then I'm going to give you half of $27. So it would be about what? Or $27.50 times $1.50 or 1.5. So thinking of those numbers whenever you're estimating. Okay. All right. Step 2 will be we are going to multiply the tenths. Multiply the tenths. Well, we got to know where the tenths are, right? So if we use our place value, this is my ones, this is my tens, this is my tenths. Okay? So those place value lines come in really handy, and then the decimal is and. So multiply your tenths. 2 times 2 is what? So 2 times 2 is 4. Okay? I'm still multiplying this tenths. 2 times 7 is 14. Carry the 1. 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1 is 5. Okay? Step 3 is going to be what? Well, I cannot just start multiplying by this. I have to place in a what? I need to place my placeholder. Place placeholder. Okay? So I use an X, y'all use a 0, so we made it our own with both. Okay? Then I'm going to multiply everything by the ones place, because this is in the ones place, isn't it? So just for this problem, I'm multiplying by this ones place. So step 4 is I'm multiplying the ones. And they are talking about this ones place. You're multiplying each of those digits by it. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 7 is 7. 1 times 2 is 2. We already used that number up there. Should have marked it off. Okay? Because this is a partial product because I'm multiplying. This is a partial product because I'm multiplying. Remember that this has a value of 0. Okay? That placeholder has a value of 0. Okay? So now my next step is going to be to add the partial products. Add the partial products. Let me make that a little smaller so it fits. Add the partial products. So I'm going to add these up. 4 plus nothing is 4. 4 plus 2 is 6. 7 plus 5 is what? 12. Carry 1. 2 plus 1 is 3. Then I have another step, and I did not write that step in there. So step 6, write that in. Step 6 is going to be place the decimal. Place the decimal. So it does not fall down when you multiply or divide. Only when you add and subtract do decimals fall. Okay? So when you multiply, you've got to count them. So in this factor, I have 1 decimal place. I'm going to put a 1 right here. And in this factor, I have 1 number behind the decimal, so I have a 1 right here. So together, just like I added here, together I have 2. So 1, 2. So my answer is 32 64 hundredths. So if I give you 27.2 times 1.2 or 27 2/10 times 1 2/10, your answer is 32 64 hundredths. Okay, so we're going to multiply. I want you to pause the video. You're going to multiply these two, and then you're going to come back and check your answer. So pause the video, and I want you to multiply these two problems, and then come back and check your answer. Okay, so here I did 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 7 is 28. Then I counted. I have 1 digit behind that decimal and none here because the decimal's at the back. So that means that I'm going to count it back 1 time in my product. Here, 9 times 3 is 27. Carry the 2, put the 7, so 27. It's got to read that way. If you put the 7 up there, it reads 72. So 9 times 3 is 27. 9 times 6 is what? 54. Plus 2 is 56. And then I count back. I have 1 digit behind the decimal, none here. So it's just 1 in my answer. So you should have got 28 8/10 there and 56 7/10 there. Okay, very good. If you will please glue this in beside our problem. Okay, very nice. And then we're going to multiply just a couple of problems down here at the bottom of this page for me. So I'm going to give you a couple of questions, and you are just simply going to multiply them. Number 1, I want you to multiply 3 times 32 hundredths. So underneath it, I want you to actually multiply that out. Number 2, I want you to multiply 3 times 62 hundredths. Multiply it underneath it. Okay. Question 3, I want you to multiply 4 times 6/10. And then the last one, question 4, I want you to multiply 4 times 32 hundredths. Okay. So you're just going to line those up and multiply them. And then when you're done, come back to the very end of the video and I'll give you the answers. Okay, so multiply those out. So pause the video, multiply those out, and then you'll be able to check them in a little bit. Okay, so here is your answers for those 4. You've worked out, and again, I have 96 hundredths, 1 and 86 hundredths, 2 and 4/10, 1 and 28 hundredths. Okay, turn your page. Okay, so make sure that you are labeling your table of contents. We are going to stop there today. And so then tomorrow, but what is in the baggie, you're going to need tomorrow too. So this is what I want. I want you to put back in the bag these 3 right here. Put those back in the Ziploc bag and put them back in the bucket because this will be tomorrow's lesson, okay? So these 3 go back in the Ziploc bag and then go back in the bucket. Then I want you to look at your try it. I've passed that back out to you. Looks like this right here, and it says page 116. What I need you to recognize is this did not turn out very well. So I'm going to show you the colored one so that you can see this to know how to do it. Let me, so this right here, oh, wrong page. Hold on. This right here is this question. So I want you to look at the colored one on the video to work that problem out so that it makes sense to you. Okay, so this is the only one. Everything else you can do by multiplying. But this one, look at the colors. Let me zoom that in a little bit better. Look at the colors to recognize what they're asking you. So these colors matter, and the colors didn't show it very well. So what did they model here for you on those colors? I'm going to zoom this in really good so that you can see what they did. Okay, so this is how you're working this one right here on your paper on the video. And then you're just going to finish your try it, turn it into the bucket, and then we will go from there. And then you will need to get onto your vocabulary.